My name's James Gossett. I'm a senior archaeologist for Cornwall Archaeological Unit, and I'm responsible for carrying out surveys for the Monumental Improvement project across the protected landscapes. Much of the work carried out by archaeologists, CAU or other professionals working in Cornwall is centred on large development schemes such as house building or road schemes, recording such as that under the planning legislation. But in recent years, my work has increasingly focused on the archaeology of protected landscapes, working with projects such as Penrith Landscape Partnership, Monumental Improvement, or through voluntary work with conservation and community groups like Archaeology Group. Sites have been varied and across all periods, from Bronze Age barrows such as those at Mount Edgecombe, Carn Beacon, St Agnes Beacon and the Goonhilly Barrow Group, or Iron Age settlements and cliff castles such as Kynance Gate, Castle Door, Wine Cove, Blackhead and Gunwallow, or medieval chapels such as St Leven's Chapel, St Piran's Oratory, all the way to military sites such as the redoubts at the Maker Heights complex. All of these sites are designated as scheduled monuments, but despite these higher levels of protection, are on the Heritage at Risk Register or are vulnerable. Sites in Cornwall's protected landscape are very varied and invariably in beautiful, often wild environments that come with unique challenges and suffer from a range of risks and vulnerabilities and neglect. Carrying out work on these sites is not always straightforward and may require applications to Historic England for scheduled monument consent or to Natural England for work in SSI or special areas of conservation. Sites are most often at risk due to a range of issues, including unmanaged or poorly managed vegetation, livestock or waterlogged damage, visitor damage, and the effects of coastal erosion. CAU's work in protected landscapes across Cornwall has provided the opportunity to carry out vegetation clearance, sometimes on a large scale, allowing the first detailed surveys and recording to be made of these sites. This work would not have been possible without the help of different community groups across Cornwall, including Archaeology Group, Cornwall Archaeological Society and the Time Seekers on Bodmin Moor. Surveys commissioned by Penrith Landscape Partnership and Monumental Improvement have provided a more detailed and up-to-date understanding of a range of vulnerable monuments and help to establish a more focused framework to address short-term or immediate needs and long-term future management. Unmanaged scrub vegetation can cause many problems, leading to sites becoming forgotten or neglected and masking significant structural issues. Similar problems can be caused by poorly managed livestock regimes or on or around scheduled monuments, or gradual decline caused by visitor use. Addressing these issues may require fairly immediate action and might include volunteer or contractor clearance, structural repair work, restoration of eroded features, or changes to livestock management and control. The Monumental Improvement project has successfully carried out work of this nature at sites such as Castle Door, Tiddy, Nine Stones, Kynance Gate and others. All of the sites surveyed by CAU have come with unique issues. Unmanaged vegetation at Redoubt 4, for instance, at Maker Heights, was causing significant structural damage, and these were compounded by extensive damage and neglect caused by illegal occupation of the site over a number of years. Work by Monumental Improvement has facilitated clearance, recording and survey, followed by structural consolidation by the Rame Conservation Trust, helping to preserve these important sites. At St Constantine's Chapel, an overgrown, neglected site in the middle of a pristine golf course, conservation requirements are now better understood as a result of clearance and 3D recording. The scale of the problem is better understood, even though it might not be easily addressed or solved. And field systems and prehistoric settlement evidence at Bearator, for instance, continues to be largely invisible beneath bracken, despite its designation as a large and complex scheduled monument area. Other sites require a unique approach and are not for the faint-hearted. Recording at the Royal Observatory Bunker at Maker Heights, Redoubt 1, required descent down a ladder some 5 metres below ground, requiring structural and air quality assessment in advance of the work before we could enter the site. The problems associated with poorly managed livestock have been witnessed at many of the sites surveyed, such as Nine Stones, Kynance Gate and Castle Door, leading to flooding, unstable standing stones, eroded ramparts, and accessibility problems. Surveys have been essential in recording these issues and understanding how to address them. At St Piran's Oratory, another scheduled monument site included in the Monumental Improvement list of heritage at risk sites, a successful National Lottery Heritage Fund grant led to excavation of this iconic site in 2014, followed by extensive conservation work in 2019. Although a complex site requiring scheduled monument consent and special area of conservation consent, and still prone to seasonal flooding, the future conservation needs of this oratory are now better understood and the archaeological importance of the site confirmed. The 2014 excavation led to the discovery of 12 burials, all but 2 of them young children, and dating to the 9th century AD. This suggests that although building analysis shows that the current oratory is 11th or 12th century in date, an early medieval place of Christian worship must have preceded it. A synthesis report bringing all the work at the oratory up to date, from the 19th century rediscovery right up to the present day, is currently in preparation for the Monumental Improvement project and will help to inform a conservation management plan to safeguard the long-term management of the site. Coastal erosion is becoming an increasing threat to sites in the protected landscape. At St Leven's Chapel, CAU carried out emergency excavation for the Penwith Landscape Partnership due to the threat posed by cliff erosion and flash flooding. Here, Historic England took the unusual decision to support total excavation and scientific dating in order to gain as much information as possible before total loss of the site. It was a challenging excavation requiring cliffside rope working, but was successful in securing the first scientific date for an early Christian chapel in Cornwall, using a technique known as optically stimulated luminescence, something that we later deployed at King Arthur's Hall. The increasing threat of coastal erosion is recognised at a number of sites surveyed for CAU for monumental improvement, most clearly demonstrated at Trebarvith Romano British salt-making site, which is slowly collapsing from the cliff into the sea. It's hoped that sites like this will be a focus for future work, recording and gaining information before catastrophic loss occurs. Projects such as Monumental Improvement have increased our knowledge of heritage at risk sites across the different protected landscapes, creating detailed surveys, establishing chronologies, and providing a framework for future management and conservation.
My name is Linus, and I'm the Project Archaeology Officer for Cornwall National Landscape's Monumental Improvement Project. The project aims to support heritage features in Cornwall's protected landscape that are classified as at-risk or vulnerable on Historic England's Heritage at Risk Register. The project has been working at 40 scheduled monuments across 10 of Cornwall National Landscape's 12 sections to better identify, enhance the condition, and improve our understanding of nationally significant archaeological remains. The project is funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund and supported by a partnership including Cornwall Council, Historic England, and the National Trust. Across Cornwall, the protected landscape varies enormously, covering the granite upland of Bodmin Moor, the unique serpentine coastal cliffs of the Lizard, dunescapes, and the extensive woodland of Mount Edgecombe and Tahiti Country Parks. With this comes a wide variety of challenges, especially scrub growth, flooding, and the coastal and stock erosion which undermine the integrity of our monuments and limit our understanding and enjoyment of the sites. The sites that we manage represent over 4,000 years of Cornish history, from the redoubts at Maker Heights, fortifications built in the late 18th century to counter the growing threat from the French, to a Neolithic chambered long cairn built across Beretor over 4,000 years ago. As James said, despite their designation, many of the sites included in the project are poorly understood and recorded. Through the commissioning of topographic and geophysical surveys on many of our sites, such as Wine Cove Cliff Castle, Bottrow Mott and Bailey Castle, and Roundwood Promontory Fort on the Fal Estuary, we can identify key features and vulnerable areas of high archaeological potential, focusing our vegetation management there. Working with Historic England, who gave consent for us to work on these protected monuments, we have conducted 2 seasons of larger scale conservation repairs at 6 sites, including Castledore, Tahidi Round, Wardbrook Farm Kist, and Kynance Gate. One of the sites we worked on in the summer of 2023 was Castledore near Foy. The site is a multi-vallet Iron Age hill fort with 2 enormous ramparts enclosing a circular area where people may have lived, worked, or performed rituals. Excavations in the 1930s erroneously dated structures on the interior to the Dark Ages, and a tenuous link to the Arthurian tales persists due to an interpretation panel installed at the site in the 1960s. The site is now grazed by cattle, and the more adventurous cows climbing the banks had caused several significant and rapidly eroding paths. With support from a keen base of volunteers and the landowner, we used a Historic England approved methodology to repair the eroded areas with buried hessian sacks and the removal of some trees. Combined with moving the water trough away from the ramparts, we hope to have safeguarded the banks and ditches from further erosion in the future. We have also commissioned archaeologists to conduct geophysical and topographic surveys of the sites, revealing buried features on the exterior of the monument and pinpointing priority areas for repair and further stabilisation. This work will help inform a management plan to help the landowner and our legacy volunteer groups to maintain the work carried out and enable future generations to enjoy our heritage assets. Another site the project does work on is Emblantsdown Stone Circles on Bodmin Moor. Assembled sometime from the late Neolithic period to the Middle Bronze Age, the site survives today as a pair of stone circles in different states of preservation. The western circle survives more visibly with 6 upright stones and at least one fallen. However, the eastern circle is difficult to read, with only 2 stumps upright and 4 displaced fallen stones. The site suffers from flooding in the wetter months due to breaches in leats funneling water through the site. A monumental improvement worked to repair some of the damage to the western stone circle, including infilling the hollows around 2 stones and re-erecting the southernmost stone to help visitors recognise and understand the monument better. Without the conservation works, hollows caused by livestock scratching on the stones become waterlogged and destabilise the stones, leading to them falling over. These 2 seasons of large-scale conservation repairs at 6 of our scheduled monuments at risk has been supported by a busy programme of scrub clearance across all of Cornwall, with both contractors and volunteers. Sites such as Drizibet Hamlets and Godeva Stone Circle have been transformed by careful vegetation management, revealing sites as they have not been seen in perhaps hundreds of years, and providing sight lines for the first time in a generation between monuments across the landscape, hinting at their possible original significance and helping people to appreciate them in a whole new way. Scrub clearance has also helped us understand the complex needs of some sites, such as the Victorian rifle butts built on top of the Iron Age Blackhead Cliff Castle and St Constantine's Chapel, where unchecked vegetation and harsh weather has led to significant decay. Structural engineers' reports commissioned by the project will help us to update the historic environment record with an up-to-date model of the site's condition and conservation plan to help landowners and future projects conserve and enhance the structures sensitively. Working on nationally important monuments protected by law in a designated landscape is challenging, considered, and hugely rewarding. By protecting these monuments considered most vulnerable to a variety of threats, we are helping to maintain a connection between these sites and the communities that enjoy them, as well as encouraging a whole new generation to be curious about Cornish archaeology.